But for now, let's bring you other developing stories. Officials in Gauteng are raiding restaurants, more restaurants in Pretoria, after being tipped off about non-compliance relating to several regulations. A joint team consisting of labour inspectors, immigration officials and police have now descended on eateries in Menlyn Mall. Newzroom Afrika's Zola Sholwana has been tracking that story. Zola, good afternoon. What's been happening? Well, where are you and what's been happening?
Good afternoon, Michelle. We are at Menlyn Mall in one of the eateries, which is Mugg Bean. What I can tell you, Michelle, is that the moment Home Affairs officials and the Department of Labour officials made their way in this eatery, particularly the kitchen, some workers tried to escape using what you are seeing over there. And really, these operations are done to check issues such as compliance, regulations, and also to ensure the conditions that workers are working under are actually acceptable, and also the issues of wages, as we understand that since they conducted these raids, Michelle, there's been a lot of discoveries with some restaurants in Sandton where people have been paid a low minimum wage, below the minimum wage and also the fact that some of the employees do not have a proper documentation to be in South Africa. For example, one of the restaurants, it was discovered that 14 of the workers were illegal foreigners and only one South African was working there. But we'll bring in an official from the Department of Labour to perhaps touch on what we just experienced right now. Ma'am, thank you very much for your time. We saw panic just now when you walked in here. What is happening?
Good morning. Good day. We came in here for the operation for the restaurant. Now, when we arrive here at Mugg Bean, Menlyn, all the employees, they ran away. The ceiling, currently when we are speaking, it's off, like, I don't know, it's broken. And the other thing is that they just switch off the lights. We cannot even be able to see what is happening inside.
Well, what do you think is the reason? Because we understand that you've conducted these raids before and you've made a few discoveries.
Okay, I think the main reason for the employees to run is must have that they don't have the legal documents to work in our country, and as well maybe they don't even want to talk to us as a Department of Labour in terms of the compliance for the employer with the employer. Yes.
I mean, we've seen these very big restaurants. At some point you were in Sandton, and some of them had to be shut down. And it's quite early to really know what's going to happen here. But by the look of things, by observing what has been happening, do you think that they are complying with your labor laws?
Okay, currently I will never say we will leave the company open to operate, because as an occupational health and safety inspector, we cannot allow the employees to operate in the dark place. How will they be able to work? So there is no safety at all. So definitely they'll have to, it's either they switch on the light, we perform with our duties, or the business has to be closed until the lights are on, because we cannot leave them to work in dark.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. Well, Michelle, just to show you again, that is the roof that collapsed just about 5 minutes ago, where it is believed that some of the employees were trying to find or make their way out, running away. And you have heard the health inspector mentioning that if they do not switch on the lights, then they will have to shut down the restaurant. They will not allow them to operate under these circumstances, because they need to do their work. As you can see, let me actually ask my colleague to show you. They are being asked to evacuate the space right now.
Evacuate the space. Can you move from the kitchen? This is immediate danger. Evacuate the space. You can't evacuate it.
That is one of the health inspectors essentially telling the workers to evacuate, essentially down their tools. Those who are preparing food must, down their tools at this point, because the place is dark. And, what's actually surprising is that when we walked in here, it was business as usual. There was light, but as soon as officials made their way inside this kitchen of Mugg Bean, Menlyn, then lights went off a part of the roof collapsed, and it is alleged that some people were trying to run away or escape through this broken roof that you see here, Michelle.
Yeah, the ceiling very clearly having come apart there. Is there any sign of the management of Mugg Bean, Zola? Have you had an opportunity to speak to whoever's in charge of that eatery?
Well, right now we haven't gotten a chance. Actually, Michelle, there's someone who is hiding in the fridge. Immigration officials are trying to check if there are people that are hiding inside the fridge. We'll see if we'll be able to get, a sense or a response from Mugg Bean management, shortly after this. It's actually quite, surprising and shocking, because as we have been making this raid, we haven't spoken to anyone from management, or no one has come forward to essentially find out why officials are here, and also to explain why some people have been trying to escape using the roof. For instance, some of them have had to hide themselves in a refrigerator, but we will be hearing from management, In fact, we are seeing immigration officials engaging with management of Mugg Bean, and just to check if they are complying, checking issues of minimum wages, and really just to ensure that they are adhering to all the labor laws. But as it stands, business is on a standstill. It looks like if they are not complying, then the restaurant might possibly be shut down.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zola, this is obviously not the first restaurant that this raid has been conducted at Menlyn in Pretoria. When we talk about arrests, how many arrests have been effected there today, and on what grounds?
Well, Michelle, this is the first restaurant, in fact, where we started the raid. We're supposed to start in another one, but they decided to choose this particular one, saying that this is where they employ quite a number of people. And you'd remember that in the past raids that have been conducted, it was discovered that these businesses or eateries tend to employ foreigners or illegal foreigners that do not have proper documentation. Now, in that case, a lot of people have to account, particularly the employer. So this is the first restaurant. We are told that we'll move to another one, which is also quite, famous. And this is to ensure that these restaurants that are quite big in these particular cities are adhering to the necessary rules that they need to adhere to. We'll, of course, give you an update after we have engaged with Home Affairs, including the Department of Labor officials, to find out what are the findings, what is going to happen from now. Are they shutting down this business? And really, what does this say about the hospitality sector in South Africa, where when officials make their way in, some people try and run for their lives, some hide themselves in fridges. What is the issue? What is the underlying issue? Those are the answers that we will be getting from the relevant officials, Michelle.
Yeah, and since you've been there, Zola, I mean, we, before coming on air, saw that ceiling in the kitchen there at the Mugg Bean at Menlyn sort of falling down. I think we might have also seen someone running after falling from the ceiling. That's certainly what it looked like on screen. When you arrived there this afternoon, was the restaurant full? Were there patrons? I imagine they're incredibly shocked at the moment.
Well, the restaurant is full as we speak. Of course, other people are making their way out. When we went to the kitchen area, it was business as usual. They were preparing food for their customers. And the reaction that we saw when we made our way to the kitchen was actually quite, shocking, Michelle, because people started running away, which then raised, questions to say, why would people run away when they actually are seeing Home Affairs officials and also the Department of Labor? But what we are discovering right now is that there's potentially some people that do not have proper documentation, work permits, and there could possibly be another issue that has been, occurring throughout these raids, an issue of workers not being paid the way they're supposed to be paid, because you remember that in some of these restaurants that have been raided since the department started this, there's been an issue where their employers have been paid through tips, and they haven't been paid the minimum wage that they're actually supposed to receive as employees. But of course, we don't know how the findings of this particular eatery will be like, and we will be hearing from officials shortly after they have sat down with the management of the restaurant, and we will give an update if the restaurant will continue operating shortly after this raid, or operations will be suspended until further notice. Back to you in studio.
Zola Sholwana, thanks very much indeed for that update. And we know that this particular raid is not new. In fact, these officials have done similar raids just this week in Sandton on Nelson Mandela Square as well. And that led to the arrest of 5 people, if memory serves. So Zola Sholwana, thanks very much indeed for that, and more updates from her throughout the day.